you will lose, not because you're unlucky, not because you made a mistake, and not even because you're less smart, but because the game was decided before you even sat down at the table. The casino doesn't win. It simply can't lose. Every light, every sound, every smile of the dealer, none of it is service. It's a system. A system that slowly, imperceptibly, and inevitably takes your money. You can walk away a winner, once, maybe twice, but if you stay, you've already lost. Because math doesn't make mistakes. Because probability isn't on your side. Because everything has already been calculated. Everything, except once. 2011 Atlantic City. One man walks into a casino, sits down at the table, and starts winning. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions. The casino can't stop him, can't change the rules, can't throw him out, because he's playing by their rules. But those rules he wrote himself. Atlantic City, a place that tried to become the second Las Vegas. A place where casinos aren't just buildings. They're the economy, the system, the machines that print money. In 2010-2011, they had a problem. Players were leaving, the money was shrinking, competition was growing. Casinos needed one thing: people who would play for big money, very big. And that's when Don Johnson appeared. Not a star, not a billionaire, just a player. But with one difference. He didn't come to play. He came to negotiate. A casino is a business, and like any business, it depends on customers. But not on ordinary ones, on those who leave millions behind. Such players are called high rollers. And for them, casinos are willing to do almost anything. Free suites, flights, alcohol limousines, and most importantly, special playing conditions. And that's exactly where Don Johnson strikes. He understands one simple truth: if you're valuable enough, the rules start to bend. He goes to several casinos, not just one, not by chance. He does it deliberately, methodically, like a man who understands. It's not the game that matters here, it's the choice. Each casino for him is not a place of entertainment. It's a negotiation room, a stage where the rules can be changed. He doesn't rush to sit at the table. He doesn't take chips. He doesn't place bets. First, conversation. He looks at the managers, at the people used to being in control. And he says calmly, without pressure, without emotion, "I'll play for millions, but only if you give me the terms." Pause. It sounds absurd, almost like a joke, because in the classic logic of a casino, the player is the one who accepts the rules, not the one who dictates them. A casino isn't supposed to adapt to the player. It's a system, a structure, a machine that always runs on set parameters. But reality turns out to be different, because the system isn't just math. It's people. And people make decisions, and those decisions are often based not on logic, but on the desire to make more money. Look at him. Listen to what he says. Look at the numbers, and start seeing not risk but profit. Big profit. Imagine how much he might lose, how much money he might leave here, how many nights he might come back. And in that moment, something shifts. They stop seeing a threat. They start seeing an opportunity, and they agree, one after another, because deep down they already have the answer. He'll lose anyway. That's not just a thought, it's a belief. It's what their entire business is built on, because everyone loses, sooner or later, more or less, but they lose, always. And that's exactly why they fail to see the most important thing. Standing before them is a man who didn't come to play, but to change the rules of the game. He gets conditions that an ordinary player would never be offered. Not a bonus, not a free suite, not a bottle of champagne on the house. He gets control over the game itself. Soft blackjack rules: a dealer stands on soft 17, more room for doubling down, cashback on losses, rebate up to 20%, meaning if he loses 1 million, he gets 200,000 back. Huge betting limits, hundreds of thousands on a single hand. And this is where it gets important, because at first glance, it still looks like the same game. But it's not. You need to understand one thing. In a regular game, the casino always has an edge, a small one, almost invisible, 0.5%, 1%, 2%. It seems like nothing, but if you play long enough, it becomes a mathematical law. For example, if $1 million passes through the table in one night, even with a 1% house edge, casino earns $10,000. That's why casinos don't fear bets. They don't fear wins. They fear only one thing: the end of play. Because the longer you play, the closer you are to losing. But Don Johnson does something that breaks the system. He's not playing against the casino. He's changing the math. First, the soft rules. Every small adjustment reduces the casino's edge from 2 to 1.5%. That's already critical. But it's not enough. Then comes the key element, rebate. The return on losses, up to 20%. That means if he loses $500,000, he gets $100,000 back. If he loses $1 million, $200,000 comes back. If he loses $5 million, he gets $1 million returned. It's not a bonus. It's insurance. It's protection from failure. Where the casino once had plus 1%, now part of the losses return. Risk decreases, pressure falls. And effectively, the casino's advantage disappears. The main thing is the limits. He's not betting 1 to 100, not 1,000. He's betting $50,000, $100,000. That means millions pass through the table every hour. And under his rules, each session starts working for him. That's where the break happens, quiet, almost invisible, but crucial. Usually, the game looks like this. Every smile of the dealer. None of it is service. The only question is how fast he'll lose. For Don Johnson, it's the opposite. Because of the rules, the rebates, and his discipline, he removes the casino's edge. And then he creates his own. Subtle, but enough. Now it's in his favor. And that means just one thing. As long as he keeps playing, he doesn't lose. He earns. Not because he's lucky, but because for the first time, the math is on his side. Now the game looks different. On the surface, it's all the same: the table, the cards, the dealer, the chips. Nothing has changed visually, but inside everything is already different. If he loses, he gets part of his money back, not a token amount, a real portion, up to 20%. That means every loss stops being a full hit. It softens, becomes manageable. If he loses 100,000s, he doesn't lose 100,000s anymore, but say 80,000s. And that changes the psychology of the game, and that changes the math. If he wins, he keeps everything. No limits, no caps, no givebacks to the casino. Every win stays his. Every successful hand works 100% in his favor. And here comes the asymmetry. The risk decreases. The potential stays the same. Usually to lower risk, you sacrifice profit. Here, no. He reduces risk but not reward. And most importantly, the math changes, not visually, not obviously, but fundamentally. Before the casino had plus 1%, the player has minus 1%, and the outcome was predetermined over time. Now the picture is different. Part of the losses come back. The rules are softer. Mistakes don't cost as much. And gradually, almost invisibly, the casino's edge disappears. Then something even more important happens. The advantage shifts. To him, not obvious 0.5%, maybe 1%, but that's enough. Because in gambling, even fractions of a percent decide everything. It's a subtle moment, almost invisible to an outsider. From the outside, it looks like a man just playing, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, nothing unusual. But inside the system, the shift has already happened. The rules are the same. The table's the same. The cards are the same. But the logic has changed. And this is where the system starts to break. Not with a loud crack, not with an error, not with a glitch, but quietly, almost elegantly, because now every next hand works against the casino. And it doesn't even realize it right away. He sits down at the table, unhurried, without drawing attention, as if it's just another evening, another game, another player. No emotion, no joy, no tension, no expectation. His face barely moves, his eyes focused but without intensity. No show, no loud bets, no gestures to attract attention. He doesn't try to look important or dangerous. No wasted motion. Every action, precise. Every decision, quick but never impulsive. No fuss. He doesn't drink, even though free alcohol flows endlessly around him. He refuses, because there's no place here for a clouded mind. He doesn't get distracted. Not by people, not by conversation. The casino around him lives its own life. Noise, light, music, emotions. But for him, none of it exists. There is only the game. He doesn't try to win back, because he feels no loss, no panic, no urge to get his money back right away. He's not playing to feel. He's playing to execute. He just plays, precisely, each move calculated cold, no impulses, no thrill seeking, pure discipline. He doesn't step outside the line, doesn't overreach, doesn't change his style. And that's what starts working. He begins to win, at first a little, small sums, almost unnoticed by the casino. Then more. The wins become steady, repeated, reinforced. Then millions. Numbers that can't be ignored. Amounts that make them look at him differently. But he doesn't change. Not his expression. Not his tempo. Not his behavior. As if nothing is happening. Though in reality, he's already doing what once seemed impossible. At first, the casino doesn't panic. No alarm, no sudden moves. To them, it looks like a normal situation. Because they're used to one scenario. Every player loses sooner or later. That's not a guess, that's statistics. That's what their entire business is built on. They've seen hundreds of cases like this. Players win at first, sometimes big. Sometimes they even walk away with tens of thousands ahead. But then it always changes. Emotions take over, bets grow, control slips. And the money flows back, to the casino always. That's why they don't react right away. They wait. They're sure it's only a matter of time. But this time it doesn't happen. One session passes, then another, then a third, and the pattern doesn't repeat. He doesn't break. He doesn't accelerate. He doesn't start playing more aggressively. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't lose control. Not after a win, not after a loss. His state never changes, as if the outcome doesn't affect him at all. And most importantly, he never steps outside the strategy. Not once. He doesn't try to play differently. He doesn't chase a bigger win. He doesn't deviate. He plays the same game. And that's what begins to break the casino's usual model. Because they're ready for emotion. They're ready for mistakes. They're ready for chaos. But not for a system that works against them. And then it becomes clear this isn't an accident. This isn't luck. It's a system. But now, his system, the casino tries to stop. But it can't. The contracts are signed. The terms are agreed upon. The rules are set. And now, they're the ones who have to play. Borgata, millions lost. Caesar's, millions. Tropicana, millions. The total over $15 million. And it's not hacking, not cheating, not a system glitch. It's the result of a perfectly calculated strategy. Because casinos are used to weak players. The ones who play on emotion, break discipline, lose control. They weren't ready for someone who played differently. He wasn't trying to win. That's the first thing that set him apart from everyone else. He wasn't chasing a result. He wasn't trying to hit it big. He wasn't looking for luck or waiting for a hot streak. He did something else. He made it so that losing became almost impossible. He didn't eliminate risk completely. That's impossible. But he reduced it to a level where every setback stopped being critical. Every loss was controlled. Every decision, calculated, every move, within pre-set boundaries. He didn't play against the casino directly. He removed the very possibility of being crushed by the system. A logic where you don't ask, how do I win? You ask, how do I make sure I don't lose? And the difference between those questions is enormous. Because the first leads to risk, to emotion, to trying to beat the system within its own rules. And the second, to control, to creating conditions where the system itself stops being a threat. That's a different level of thinking. Not of a gambler, not of a participant, but of someone who sees the game from above. Someone who understands the outcome isn't decided when you make the bet. It's decided long before that. In the terms, in the rules, in the math. And if you control those, the game itself almost doesn't matter. The story of Don Johnson isn't a story about casinos, and it's not about luck, fortune, or a winning streak. It's a story about control, about the ability to see the system not from within, as most players do, but from the outside. Because in any system, the winner isn't the one who plays better, not the one who counts faster, and not even the one who gets luckier. The winner is the one who sets the terms of the game, the one who understands where the game truly begins, not at the table, not at the moment of the bet, but much earlier, in the rules, in the agreements, in the very structure of the process. That's where the outcome is decided. Don Johnson was never caught in the traditional sense. He didn't break the law. He didn't count cards illegally. He didn't use devices. He didn't trick the dealers. He did everything openly, by the rules, under the terms the casinos themselves offered and signed. And that's why he couldn't be punished. There was no trial, no charges, no fines or prison time, because technically he did nothing illegal. But they still stopped him. After a string of losses, the casino simply changed the rules. They ended those types of agreements, closed off the formats where he had the edge. In effect, he wasn't punished. He was just no longer allowed to play the game on his terms. And that's the crucial part. The system doesn't always punish. Sometimes it just closes. It changes the rules, restricts access, removes the possibility of repeating the outcome. And if you don't set the terms of the game, you inevitably become part of it, part of the mechanism where everything is already calculated, where your actions are predictable, where your mistakes are expected, and where your result is known in advance. Don Johnson stepped outside that logic, not because he was the smartest, but because he looked deeper. And that's why, for a brief moment, he became the only man at the table who wasn't playing the casino's game, but his own.